Hello, my name is Ken, and I recently purchased from Amazon a YESKAMO wireless 4-camera home surveillance security system. And this is truly a plug-and-play security camera kit, meaning all you have to do is plug in the cameras and the monitor to a power source, and that's it, because all 4 cameras are already synchronized or paired wirelessly to the monitor. And that's exactly the way that I intend to use this kit, as a standalone security camera system. But if you want to get real fancy, then you can download the free app from YESKAMO onto your smartphone, and then you can sit at your favorite coffee shop and watch the porch pirates run away with your packages. And while they're running away, you can even yell at them by using the YESKAMO camera's two-way audio feature that will be on your smartphone. The one thing that I do not like about reviews is the fact that it seems like they always talk about everything except for some of the very most important things that I'm interested in knowing about. So in just a moment, I'm going to be offering some of my own opinions as I see it. And hopefully, some of the things that I'm going to be talking about here will be beneficial to you in your hunt for that perfect home security system. Oh, and by the way, there is one other thing that I don't like about some reviews, and that's when the reviewer plays background music in their review. And I don't like that. Okay, so before I get into all this stuff too deep, I want you to hear me now and believe me later. I have previously owned several different brands of these made in China wireless home security camera kits. And I'm telling you right now, the advertisements are usually much, much better than the product itself. These inexpensive kits are for amateurs, and there is nothing that is professional about it. So I'm warning you right now, don't you be surprised if something doesn't function as well as you thought it would, or maybe not even function at all. So if you own several sacks of gold, or you own the Hope Diamond, and it all needs 24/7 surveillance protection, then you need to stop right here and get away from all of this cheap stuff, because you need a surveillance system that's on a much higher level than what this stuff can provide. So there you go. You have now been officially forewarned. And with all of that said, and if you're still interested, I will now continue with my review. Okay, this is one of the 4 YESKAMO cameras right here. The housing is partially metal and it's partially plastic. It has one single antenna that transmits the video to the monitor. And that's the wireless part about this system. The camera itself is powered by low voltage, 12 volts DC current that comes from a small 110 volt transformer that's included with each camera. So keep in mind that these cameras do require a 110 volt wall outlet for power. And I just happen to have 110 volt wall outlets on my covered back patio and on my covered front porch. YESKAMO claims that their camera will transmit the video signal up to a maximum of 60 feet away from the monitor, if it's only having to go through just one wall. But if the video signal is having to go through two walls, then that distance is cut in half, down to only 30 feet maximum from the camera to the monitor. And if you think this is going to be a problem for you, then here's something that you should know. YESKAMO does offer a little gizmo called a signal repeater that can be connected up to a maximum of 2 cameras. And YESKAMO claims that their signal repeater will boost the video signal up to an additional 100 feet. But I cannot personally verify that because I've never had to use one of their signal repeaters. All 4 of my cameras are only about 20 feet away from the monitor, and they're only having to go through just one brick wall. So I have a really good and strong video signal from the cameras to the monitor. And here's something else that you should know if you have to purchase a signal repeater. YESKAMO tells me that it's just like their cameras, that for power, a small 110 volt transformer is included with their new signal repeater. So you'll need a 110 volt wall outlet for that little gizmo too. The cameras are weatherproof, meaning they can be used outdoors, but they can also be used indoors as well. And after you mount this camera with the included wood screws, you then adjust the camera to the position that you want it to be in. And to permanently maintain that position, you hand tighten a large barrel nut that's a friction lock located at the base of the camera. A few of the other manufacturers use set screws to maintain the position of the camera, but trust me, you don't want that. You want one like this camera that uses a large barrel nut that acts as a friction lock, because it's much easier to work with and it's much more reliable than set screws. And here's a good tip for you. Notice how I installed this YESKAMO camera on my covered back patio. My patio cover uses metal poles for support. So what I did is I took an 8-inch long piece of 2x4 wood and I attached it to one of the metal support poles using several plastic tie wraps that you can buy at any local hardware store, or you can buy from Amazon. And then using the included wood screws, I then attached the YESKAMO camera to the piece of 2x4 wood. So now, how do you like that? Ain't I just smarter than a dead-burn hog? And now let me say something good about these YESKAMO cameras. I think the video looks really good as compared to some of the other previous brands that I have owned in the past. And in total darkness, the 100-foot infrared lights are much better than the other brands that have only 65-foot infrared lights. Now I'm not for sure, but I don't think you can turn these infrared lights off on these cameras. And that may be important for you to know, because I read somewhere one time that if you mount one of these infrared type cameras inside of your house and you have it positioned to where it's looking outside through a window, then at nighttime the infrared lights will bounce right back off of the glass window pane and right back into the camera lens. And you don't want that. Now I'm only guessing, but that might only be a problem at nighttime and only after the infrared lights have automatically come on. And there's another feature that I like about these YESKAMO cameras, and those are the floodlights that are built inside the camera itself. And at nighttime, anytime a person gets within 20 or 25 feet of the camera, the motion detector triggers the floodlight, and then the floodlight turns on. Basically what happens, the infrared lights turn off and the floodlights turn on, and the camera becomes a really strong flashlight. Only instead of having a narrow beam like a flashlight, it puts out a really strong floodlight that lights up the entire area. And the advantage of that is the fact that the NVR is now recording in color instead of just black and white as it would with just infrared lights. And I like that. And another advantage to the floodlights is the fact that when they come on, the intruder will immediately know that they're being watched, and possibly even being recorded, because they are. And then about 30 to 40 seconds after the intruder or the person walks away and leaves, then the floodlights will automatically turn back off, and then the infrared lights will automatically turn back on again. Now, I haven't tried this myself, but according to the user's guide, you can right-click the mouse on the monitor and go into the settings and readjust the motion detection zones. And you can even turn off the floodlight feature, either on one camera or all 4 cameras, whatever you choose to do. And while I'm on the subject of motion detection, here's something else that I should mention. I'm really not so sure about YESKAMO's artificial intelligence feature, because the motion detection is supposed to recognize a human head and shoulders only, which is supposed to minimize any false alarms. But I'm here to tell you, our cat Smokey, he must have a head and shoulders that look a lot like a human's, because at nighttime, old Smokey seems to have no problem at all triggering the camera's motion detection and turning on the floodlights. These YESKAMO cameras also have a built-in microphone and speaker, what they call a two-way audio, but it works through a Wi-Fi and through your smartphone, so I wouldn't know anything about the two-way audio system, because it's just like I said before, I'm using my YESKAMO surveillance camera kit as a standalone unit, so I'm not connected to the internet or a smartphone in any form, shape, or fashion. And this is a picture of our front porch, and just to the right of our front door, there is a wood support post where I have 2 cameras mounted close together. Number 1 camera is on the right, and it's looking out across our driveway and up the street. Number 2 camera is the one on the left, and it's looking out across our yard and down the street. And now, I'm going to say something about this YESKAMO camera that I do not like, and that's those stinking and very annoying siren alarms that comes from the speaker that's built inside of the camera. And here's what it sounds like every time the mail person delivers your mail, or every time Amazon delivers a package to your front porch. And here's what it sounds like every time your neighbor friend comes over to your house for a visit. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that siren alarm very irritating. But the good news is, you can right-click the mouse on the monitor, go into settings, and disable the siren alarm on each camera. And trust me, that's exactly what I did. Only I went a step further. And I am not recommending to anybody out there to do what I did, but I own this YESKAMO kit. It's mine, and I can do with it whatever I want to do with it. And it's nobody's business but mine. And having said all of that, here's what I did. On each camera, there's a small cover plate that's held on with 2 small screws, and removing that cover plate allows easy access to the speaker that's in the camera. I took my wire dikes and I snipped in 2 one of the wires that goes to the speaker, and that permanently and forever silences that irritating siren alarm. And by the way, it also permanently and forever disables the two-way audio feature of the camera. But everything else still works just fine. And I guess I should also mention something else that's very important. If you snip one of those wires that goes to the speaker, it also permanently and forever voids the 1-year factory warranty. Okay, here's the YESKAMO 12-inch color monitor sitting up there on our fireplace mantel, and it's sitting just to the left of that big clock. YESKAMO offers an optional 16-inch monitor, but I chose the 12-inch monitor because I felt like a 16-inch monitor would look just too big sitting up there on our fireplace mantle. And notice that this monitor has two movable receiving antennas. They are not adjustable. They can only be moved from side to side. The base stand, sitting on a flat surface, seems to be fairly stable. I would rank it on a scale from 1 to 10, at least about a number 8. And the base stand, or screen tilt, is adjustable. And right now, I have the screen tilt adjusted as far forward as it will go. And in my opinion, that's the best angle for viewing the video on the screen. But if need be, the screen tilt can be adjusted back several more degrees. And talking about a base stand, here's a good tip for you. The security camera kit that we had for a couple of years before we purchased this one was a different brand, and it had a 10-inch monitor. And we also had it sitting up here on our fireplace mantle in the exact same location as this monitor. And one day, while my wife was dusting off our fireplace mantle, she accidentally knocked off that 10-inch monitor. And when it hit the floor, it broke. Oh well, stuff happens. So anyway, to prevent that from ever happening again, I put a small wood screw in the wood fireplace mantle, right behind the monitor and right next to the brick. And then I tied a strong string around that wood screw and around the base of the monitor. So if that monitor ever gets knocked over again, then hopefully that strong string will catch it and it won't hit the floor. So there you go. I hope that's a good tip for you. But you won't have to worry about knocking this monitor off on the floor if you decide to mount this monitor on the wall, because there are 2 screw slots on the back of this monitor that can be used for mounting this monitor on the wall. Now I didn't measure it and I didn't weigh it, but just looking at this monitor from the side, it looks to me like it's about 2 inches thick. And holding this monitor in my hands, it feels to me like that it probably weighs about 5 pounds. This 12-inch monitor has a built-in 1 trillion bit NVR, a network video recorder, what I call just a hard drive, and it records all 4 cameras at the same time. And YESKAMO claims that it records up to about 30 days, and then it loops around and starts recording back over itself. This 1 trillion bit NVR does record in color, but it does not record any audio. And keep in mind too, this monitor is not a touchscreen type of monitor. And when you plug it in, the NVR starts working immediately. There is not an on-off switch. You can turn off the screen, but the NVR itself is operating 24/7 from the moment that it's plugged in. And now I'm going to say something about the power consumption. I don't know exactly how much the power consumption is, but I do know that it's very low. I read somewhere that the total power consumption of the 4 cameras in the monitor is about the same power consumption as a couple of bedroom night lights. And that's a pretty low power consumption. So I doubt if you would ever see any kind of a price increase on your monthly electric bill. And now, looking directly at the monitor, there are 3 ports located on the left lower bottom of the monitor. There's a USB port, an Ethernet port, and an HDMI port. The USB port is for the small plastic mouse that's included with the monitor. All 4 videos are normally displayed at the same time on the monitor screen, and using the mouse, you can put the cursor on the video that you want and then left double-click the mouse and bring that one video up to full screen for viewing. Or you can right-click the mouse once, that will display on the screen the menu for your settings and for taking you to the recordings. And here's what that drop-down menu looks like on the screen, only I had to enlarge this picture so you can read it. because this drop-down menu on the monitor screen itself is so small you can only read it with a magnifying glass, and that's not good. And there's another item that's very small and hard to see, and that's the movable mouse cursor on the screen, and that's not good either. And while I'm at it, let me mention the paper user's manual that comes with this YESKAMO surveillance kit. The font size in that user's manual is so small, you'll have to use a magnifying glass to read it too. And again, that's not good either. YESKAMO includes with this kit a very short Ethernet cable in case you ever want to replace a camera or add another camera. And all the cameras also have an Ethernet port. You can use the short Ethernet cable and connect the monitor to the new camera, follow the directions in the manual, and synchronize the new camera, or what they call pair the camera, to the monitor. And speaking of cameras, this particular YESKAMO surveillance kit will hold a maximum of up to 8 cameras total. Oh, and by the way, what most all of us out here call cameras, they call channels. And now I'm going to mention something about the HDMI port that's on the monitor. YESKAMO does not furnish an HDMI cable with this surveillance kit. So if you want to connect this monitor to your television, as I did, then you'll have to buy an HDMI cable. And here's another good tip for you. There is not very much clearance between the HDMI port that's on the bottom left side of the monitor and the flat surface that the monitor is sitting on. So what I did, I purchased a 20-foot long, ultra thin and flexible HDMI cable from Amazon, and it works really well. And there is another option for connecting an HDMI. They're kind of pricey, but you can buy a wireless HDMI connection kit from Amazon. And I think they're good up to about 100 feet. And with the 20-foot HDMI cable coming from our 12-inch monitor, this is what the YESKAMO 4 surveillance cameras look like on our 48-inch Sony television screen right here. Camera number 1 is in the upper left corner, and it's looking out across our driveway and up the street. And camera number 2 is in the right upper corner on the screen, and it's looking out across our front yard and down the street. These YESKAMO cameras have a 100-degree field of view, and what my grandson did with cameras number 1 and 2 was adjust the 2 cameras so the field of views would overlap each other by about 10 degrees. And what that does, it gives us a kinda 180-degree panoramic view of the street out in front of our house. It's not exact, but it's pretty close, and that's pretty neat. Our number 3 camera is in the lower left corner on the screen, and it's mounted on our front porch, and it's looking at our front door. So when somebody rings our doorbell, we can look at camera number 3 and we can see who it is. And number 4 camera is in the lower right corner on the screen, and it's mounted on our back covered patio, and it's looking at our back door. So if anyone was to come to our back door, then we can look at number 4 camera and we can see who that is too. But we generally only use the number 4 camera to watch our cat, Smokey, eat his cat food. And sometimes we even watch some other animals, like raccoons and possums, eating Smokey's cat food. My wife and I really like the way we have all of this set up, because we can sit in our living room and watch television, and if we think we hear a noise outside, then we can just pick up our television remote, push a button, and see what's going on. And that's pretty neat, and we like that. And this right here is what the 4 camera images look like in the daytime on the 12-inch YESKAMO monitor screen. And then I can put my mouse cursor on the number 1 camera that's in the upper left corner of the screen, double click it, and bring that camera image up to a full screen for viewing. And now I'm going to say something about the camera zoom feature. In the past, I've owned several different brands of these cheap, made in China surveillance security camera kits, and they all use the same type of zoom feature that's called digital zoom. And I'm telling you right now, digital zoom is not worth doodle squat, because when you zoom in on a target, all you're going to get is a lot of image pixelation and blur. And that's it. And you can chisel this and granite, you will never, ever be able to read a license plate number or a name tag on somebody's shirt. So if you're needing a good zoom feature with good quality, then you need to find a camera that uses what's called optical zoom. And there's your key word right there, optical zoom. And none of these cameras have that kind of a zoom feature. But I can tell you that some of the PTZ cameras do have what's called optical zoom. PTZ stands for pan, tilt, and zoom. But most of the PTZ cameras are not standalone type cameras, meaning they don't have their own monitor, because the PTZ cameras work through a Wi-Fi and on your smartphone. And here's another one of my opinions for whatever it's worth. If you decide to go the PTZ camera route, then I would recommend that you get a PTZ camera with at least a 20 to 30x optical zoom. And remember that key word, optical zoom. At 10:30 p.m. in total darkness, this is what the YESKAMO infrared lights look like on our number 2 camera, looking out over our front yard, and we can see everything really well. And this is what our front porch looks like in total darkness. The YESKAMO infrared lights really light up our front porch, and we can plainly see our front door, and we like that. So overall, here's what I think as compared to other inexpensive made in China 4 camera security kits that I have owned in the past. As a professional kit, I will rank this YESKAMO kit a 1 star. But as an amateur kit and something that's kind of fun to play around with, I'll give it at least a 4 star. But now make no mistake, those are just my opinions. And you probably already know what some folks say about opinions. Okay, enough is enough. And this concludes my review of the YESKAMO 4 camera security surveillance kit with the 12-inch monitor. And I sincerely hope that this information has been very beneficial to you, and not just a 30-minute waste of your life that you can never, ever get back. I don't know what it would be, but there could be some things that I didn't cover or talk about that you would probably like to know about. And that's why I am putting on the screen right here YESKAMO's email address. Just send your questions to usservice@yeskamo.com and they'll answer you back. And with all that said, thank you for watching my review. Auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.